Relics, what are you doing? Were you just about to go to this dirty Jawa and start making preparations for Relic 10 and Relic Delta?
You fool!
Were you already planning what your first free Relic 10's gonna be?
You fool!
Don't worry though, the King Trippy God's is here to save the day, my friends. We're gonna talk about 5 you need to know, prepare for next week's inevitable Relic 10. Relic Delta update that people aren't talking about, especially what to hoard leading up to next week. Go ahead and Death Start that like button, and let's go ahead and chit chat, baby. Thing number 1, I want you to make sure that's on your radar. Please do not make any investment decisions off of Relic Delta before Relic Delta even hits, because you might be setting yourself up for failure, and you don't want to be Lord Failure, do you? And yes, theoretically, there are some things that we can maybe take away, but we really haven't experienced it ourselves to feel the full impact of it. And let's just be real, maybe you don't want to hear about it. The number one thing in this game is not so much the gameplay. Managing resources comes first and foremost. The gameplay is kind of just a secondary thing. I know, kind of wild, right? And I want to make sure people are investing their relics in the most opportune places. We know on a theoretical level that we're going to be increasing as a collective the average relic investment so we can stay as relevant as possible when it comes to things like Grand Arena and Territory. So we expect that the averages probably go from like a Relic 5 to like Relic 7 being the sweet spot. But with that in mind, I see a lot of panic upgrading going on. Like, for example, with all this Relic Delta stuff on the horizon, I had some people like, oh man, I'm going to make sure I increase the relics on my Nihilus because of Relic Delta. I want to make sure his insta-kill still does good work. Well, here's the thing. Some characters aren't really going to be affected that much by Relic Delta. An insta-kill from Nihilus is still going to be an insta-kill regardless of Relic Delta. So unless you're trying to make sure he doesn't die as fast, because if you're bringing a Relic 5 versus Relic 9, yeah, he might die a little bit quicker because that Relic 9 character is going to be doing like 70 plus additional extra damage on you. But from a mechanical standpoint, it's still going to be the same. And there's a lot of other examples out there. Some people want to make sure that the resistance team is still going to get the work done. Here's the thing. You know, they're still Terminator heavy. They don't, yes, they have decent damage, but they mostly rely on the exposes doing all the damage. Exposes are not being altered by Relic Delta. And the list goes on and on and on a variety of other things, but there will be some teams that might need that. And from a high-level theoretical level, and again, I recommend waiting until we see it, and especially when we talk about Relic 10 here in a moment, you can make a better decision. But on a high level, basically the way to look at this is you want to make sure your attackers can still do damage, and potentially even more damage if you can make sure they have an advantage over your enemies. And you also want to make sure your tanks can keep on tanking. So that's the overall high-level view. Kind of in a similar vein, do not make any decisions off of Relic 10 before it even hits. The other day, in case you guys did not know, we're getting a free Relic 10. Well, what I mean by free is essentially what you can take a Relic 9 to Relic 10, not like, hey, if you have a Relic 0, here's a Relic 10. No, from a Relic 9 to 10, we get one free one that we saw a few days ago that I told you about. And as a response, I saw some people ask me, hey, what are you going to be upgrading with this new free Relic 10? And I said, right now, I have 0 plans on what it's going to be. Why? Well, a few things. Yes, you could say Relic Delta first and foremost. There might be some character that really wants that extra damage boost, right? That if you think that you're going to be bringing in, let's say, Malicos versus, Relic 17s, well, he's going to nuke them away. But besides the Relic Delta, let's just keep that out of the equation for a moment, or even throwing that Relic 10 on like a big tanky character. It's going to be a lot harder to work. Maybe through a Jedi Master Luke or Leia if they're sitting at Relic 10. But the real thing is 2 things. First and foremost, we do not really know what, from a mechanical perspective, does it do. Like, I've seen some people say, hey, make sure you put the Relic 10 on Master Luke, but they're running at the assumption of what Relic 9 did. Relic 9, remember, was functionally different from what Relic 7 and 8 did. Where 7 and 8, yeah, they're kind of similar. Even to be real, from like Relic 1 through 8, it mostly was kind of the same thing, right? It was mostly making damage dealers better. And of course, yes, tanks like the increased durability, but for the most part, the damage dealers got the grand majority of the benefit from relics. However, Relic 9 changed that, where Master Luke went from like, whatever, from Relic 1 through Relic 8, and all of a sudden he was one of the top investment choices because of what Relic 9 did by itself, which added a ton of protection. So, maybe Relic 10 adds even more protection. Okay, then Master Luke might still be the GOAT for getting the most of it to make his lead ability do so much more damage. But what if it's speed by chance? What if it's more damage? What if they do something crazy and give absurd amounts of evasion? That's going to change the analysis. So basically, I don't recommend making any Relic 10 decisions, even when we get the free one next week, until we know what itself can do for your characters, because that will change where that Relic 10 should go. And we have a few ways of getting Relic 10. You know, it's going to be primarily coming through era shipment, through the era leaderboards and Coliseum, right? And we also don't know how tough it's going to be to really get those. So whole different problem. If you're only going to get like one a month, well, you want to make sure it goes in the right place. But there's a second thing with Relic 10, sort of in the similar vein of characters. The other consideration with relics, especially with Relic 9, for example, how does it affect ships, especially capital ships? Now, I suspect we're not going to see anything super drastic because ship calculations with speeds, it's nothing super interesting. I'm expecting maybe 1-2 points, but maybe, I don't know, maybe somehow it works where they get even more speed on it. So, and that's something to keep in mind, because if you, let's say, get an extra 2 speed on your Executor or Leviathan, well, that can make the Fleet Arena, the Grand Arena ship aspect, a lot more gnarly if your capital ship is a lot faster. So another thing to keep in mind, not just from the functional standpoint, what it does with the characters, what it also does to the ships. Maybe some ships will like that Relic 10 before maybe some of your characters, because you know how it goes. CG's giving us this free Relic 10 to give you a little bit of a hit. Think of Walter White, Tuco, however that scene went down.
What is it? Trash. This is trash.
We use a different
Trash.
but it is every bit as
Trash.
Maybe
Trash.
but it's a bomb.
Oh, tight. Kind of like that for a game like this. And it could be super intoxicating. It could be an absurd Relic 10. So all I'm saying is, you might have your eyes set on something, maybe Bane, whatever it might be. Wait and see what it does from a functional standpoint, as well as the ship standpoint on top of it, and whatever, the Relic Delta thing too. But now I want to get to part number 3. I said don't make your decisions off of Relic Delta, off of Relic 10 for the moment. That doesn't mean just completely freeze your account. It is only a few more days away, so maybe you can survive a few more days of not doing anything. I still recommend, despite what this world of Relic Delta is going to be, despite what Relic 10 is going to be, I still recommend you continue whatever farms you're working on. So if you're, let's say, working on Galactic Legend Leia, and you only need to get like Drogon up and running and whatnot, well, maybe just finish it, right? You still need to get Leia. No matter what happens with this game, especially I'd say if you're someone that's worried about how much Relic Delta is going to affect you, you're likely in a spot where you still need to get more characters and Galactic Legends and shit in your roster. So don't delay your Leviathan farm. If you're working on that, your Leia farm, even Hondo, whatever you're doing, if it's something that's going to add a big new unit, keep upgrading those things, right? And then next week, once we see Relic Delta, we can see how it affects our rosters overall, but you still want to make sure you're having that forward progression with the other stuff you're already working on before the boogeyman. We're told they're coming to Galaxy of Heroes. Okay, so with that in mind, don't do stuff, but make sure you're still doing stuff. Does that help you guys? Well, I think this is going to help us out even more. Thing number 4, HOARD signal data. Now, this is assuming you do not need to keep upgrading stuff for your Leviathan, your Leia farm. I want to talk about signal data here because it's going to be important moving forward for crafting what I presume is the new Relic 10, because we have a new signal data called corrupted signal data. And as you can see, there's a variety of points. We're going to kind of do some loose math as to what seems to be the most efficient way to farm up lots of points for this corrupted signal data, which is likely going to be a part of this new Relic 10 that we can put together. So let me bring this up here. A few things actually before we get into the math here. I know, how does math always follow us wherever we go? If we take a look at this, fragmented signal data is going to be removed from Relic 9, which is nice. Also from, what is it? Yeah, Relic 9, yeah. So what that means is it's going to alleviate that signal data to make sure we're shoring up some of the lower relics. But also this might be an opportunity to farm points. And I want to talk about that math now after we kind of discuss that. So I want to show a little bit of math that was done many moons ago. Ancient text of Galaxy of Heroes, signal data drop rates. Shout out to Darth Baron, let's go! They did some math, and I'm going to just run through the assumption. I don't think anything has changed with the drop rates of signal data. They've been pretty consistent throughout time. I don't think they upped it, downed it. But as you know, RNG is good to RNG. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. That's just the nature of pulling a slot machine here. Anyways, here are the average drop rates for each one. And I just want to just show the math on how that converts into the new corrupted signal data. So let's just do a few things. As you know, you have 140 for energy and a full energy refill, right? So let's just run with this math here. So let's go ahead, pull up the calculator, please and thank you. So we do 144 divided by 16 energy per attempt. We get ourselves 9 bales. So cool, nice, simple number for us to work with here. So we're gonna take that 144 energy, and I want to apply it to how much you would get per refresh. So let's go ahead and say we're gonna farm fragmented signal data, what's been removed from the Relic 9, or soon to be removed. And it's also, you can be used for the corrupted signal data. So we're going to multiply this by 1.37. You can expect about 12.33 fragmented signal data if you did one full pull of 144 energy, or 9 sims. Okay, now let's take 9 sims times the drop rate for incomplete signal data, 0.93. That gets you about 8 incomplete signal data. And then flawed signal data, it's a 0.66 drop rate, so quite a bit lower. And if we go ahead and take the 9 sims, multiply that by 0.66, you can expect about 5.94 flawed signal data. Well, now we need to apply that to the math. If you're someone that's trying to get the most bang per buck for this new corrupted signal data, that's going to be likely important. This is coming down to, well, hoard some signal data if you're trying to maximize day 1 Relic Delta, Relic 10 shenanigans here. So, check this out. Let's start off with the fragmented signal data, the 12.33. Actually, let's do this. Let's start off with flawed signal data since I already have the number up here. So you get 10 points here. So if we do 5.94 times 10, basically you get 59 points with a full energy refresh of flawed signal data. Now with incomplete signal data, you get 8 points. So we're going to go ahead and take these 8 points times the 8.37 that we did at the math a moment ago. You get 66.96. That's such close to a good number there. And then we're going to take the 12.33 number for the flawed signal data, or the fragmented signal data that we just did, multiply that by 6, and you can see we have 73.98. So it would seem, if you're looking for the most efficient bang per buck, or I say bang per refresh, and you want to prepare for all these new relic changes, hoarding up on fragmented signal data might be the best move. Now, thing number 5, sort of on this whole note of hoarding, preparing, right? I think preparing is the smartest thing to do rather than already setting your mind on what should be upgrading or even upgrading stuff right now. I also recommend, this is a tough one. It's hard to imagine it now, but we know this is what the future is going to be looking like. I definitely recommend we start hoarding up on Kyrotech, and that's a tough ask, especially if you are currently working on Leviathans, the Leias, the Hondos, whatever it might be. Kyrotech's going to be going through an interesting change. Now, in the long run, it seems like they're trying to drastically reduce the need of Kyrotech by, as we know, they're essentially going to be giving us, on all these new units, a free Gear 12 character at the end of it all, which is nice, right? So it's going to be cool, because otherwise you're going to be sitting at what, like a level 1 3-star character. Yeah, it's no fun. But now they're going to try to, at the end of an era, make sure people at least for free, we'll have to wait and see what that actually looks like, you get a Gear 12 character. So I know it's crazy right now to say hoard up Kyrotech, but it's going to be important moving forward for, again, crafting a bunch of relic materials for, what was it, the droid brains, arrow magnifiers, right? So just putting it out there, although we do have other ways to get droid brains, right, and you also have other ways of getting arrow magnifiers, I think it's important to maybe hoard up on Kyrotech, because if in case we do need to do crazy amounts of, let's say, Relic 5s to 7, maybe 7s and even higher to keep up with Relic Delta, having as much Kyrotech is going to help. Let's try not to panic too much. Let's wait and see what it looks like, and then we can try to make educated decisions on what your next investment should be via Relic Delta. And more importantly, let's not go all willy-nilly with that free Relic 10 and all the Relic 10s we're doing moving forward. So anyways, people, that's all I got to share with you guys today. Enjoy your last weekend of Galaxy Heroes without Relic Delta, without Relic 10. A lot of cool stuff coming around the corner. But as we know, we got some scary things we got to brace for impact. But until then, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And always remember, it's great to be in the Empire today. Oh, it's great to be